Hello, this is a short video from Sixpenny Memories. There are my contact details, and what we're going to do today is to show you how to quickly clean your sewing machine. So this is a standard Brother sewing machine. It's the 1800, but a lot of the machines that you have out there will be very familiar. Okay, all of the screws might not be in exactly the same place, but don't worry about that at all. So what you have here is your plate, and your bobbin goes in this part here, and then you have a back plate, and more often than not this plate will come off separately and this plate will come off when you want to do a thorough clean. I get asked how many times or how often should I clean my sewing machine. When you're changing the bobbin, don't go more than 2 before you give it a quick clean out, and certainly before you start any projects, then start. So the first thing you would do is you would take your bobbin out of this part here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the video in a little bit further so you can see. I've already done this just because I'm working backwards here, but there's a screw on this particular machine that you take this one out, or it might just be one that you pull separately. Don't worry about the bleeping, because my machine it's telling me to turn off the power and replace the needle plate, but just so we've got enough light on here, I'm keeping this on. So if it periodically bleeps, don't worry about it. Yours may not do that. The other thing to do then is to take out these 2 screws here, which I've already done, and we'll take that off. I'm going to keep this on at the moment. And then you'll find you've got your spool cap, your spool holder here. That's where your bobbin normally sits. So we'll just put that to one side. Now all I use is the brush here. This is a children's art brush, rather than, and I prefer that to the brush that comes with the machine. The reason being, the brush that comes with the machine has like a nylon bristles, and I just find them very harsh. Whereas this is just a standard brush. It's got the soft bristles. I've wrecked it, don't worry about that, because as I go into the machine, all I'm going to do, can you see how the lovely soft bristles will get all the way into the machine? And this machine is fairly clean because I had to go at it last night. But you're wanting to keep this area clean here and all of this bobbin case here. Now the next thing to do, people do that and think that's the end. No, turn the hand wheel towards you, and can you see this bottom shuttle area here is moving? And on my machine, if I just come in a little bit closer again, can you see there's a gap? And what I'm doing is I'll twizzle the brush like that, and that actually will get the dirt. If you get a little bit of black on your brush, don't worry about it. It's a little bit of grease. We're not going to oil new machines. They don't need oiling. And that's why you really do need to get them serviced every 12 months. Can you see that's moving around? And I'm just giving that a good clean. Now, the more modern the machine is, the more, shall we say, workings are down here, and it can be a little bit frustrating. So if I just come back out on the video just a little bit, can you see you've got an end cap here? Now this end cap has a screw, and whilst it wouldn't be in your manual to take that screw out, but remove the screw, particularly if you've got a thread cutter on your machine. So when you remove it, you can now access all of this bit, and you can keep all of this nice and clean. You can get into here as well. It's amazing where the dust gets, and you can get right the way up that side and give it a flipping good clean. All right. Now, if you have got a thread cutter, and I'm going to move this machine in again, the thread cutter, this is the thread cutter here. Can you see there's some felt on the thread cutter? You're not going to get rid of that at all. And this is where a pair of tweezers comes into being. So if you have any fluff on there, you can literally just lift the fluff off, not being careful not to damage the felt. Now, sometimes you'll get a thread that gets caught, because the way the needle threader works is it comes across. I'm not sure if it'll work on mine because I've got everything off, but hang on, let's see. Let me see if it'll work. No, it won't, because it's if I just say okay, no, it won't work. I'll have to do it manually. But basically what happens is, if you watch this, can you see is sliding across? That would grab the thread, and then it would pull it back. And sometimes what happens is there's a thread gets caught under there, and your thread cutter doesn't work, you can manually, there's a cog under here, just move the cog, rotate it towards you, and the needle threader will come out. So again, carefully using your tweezers. If you've got any threads there, I'm just having a check of mine, you can get in there, and can you see I'm just getting rid of any threads, and that's great, but I'm not damaging that felt part. And then I can just move this back by just rotating that cog in the opposite direction, and you can actually get in and see the cog, and you can see there's some muck in that area as well, so you can give this area a really good clean. Now the other piece of equipment that I like is the compressed air, which is just I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I'll just move this out a little bit. So this is the compressed air. This is just the original duster one. Some people will use the USB vacuums. And all I'm going to do is, if you can see, I've got the compressed air from the right. And I'm just going to give it a bit of a blast. And that gets rid of any of the dust that I can't actually see or get to. So that's given that a really good clean. If you've got a problem, can you see this area here? If I go back in again, this is where the feed dogs, you know, the teeth, shall we say. This is what lowers when you're doing your free motion quilting. If you've got a problem or you've got muck in there, again, if your brush isn't going to work, just use your tweezers, and you can just slide your tweezers along and keep that clean and pick out any of the bits. So tweezers are really good. These are just old eyebrow tweezers that don't work anymore for that purpose, so they're quite useful to have in your machine. So that's all clean there. Now the other thing I'm going to talk to you about, can you see this here? This is called the hook. Now we were talking about yesterday about the fact that sometimes your machine can skip stitches, and basically what happens, the way a sewing machine works, is that the needle comes down, it marries up with the hook, it picks up the thread and it pulls it back up, and that's simple as it is. Now that hook there, before we put the bobbin back, needs to be at 12 o'clock, so we'll just get that to 12 o'clock. Now I'm going to go back to the bobbin case here, which is, I'm just going to bring this out a little bit so you can see it. So this is my bobbin case here. Now again, can you see that you've got this blue felt area here, which has got a little bit of muck in, and this felt here. Now we don't want to damage those. So this is where the tweezers, if you've got any threads, you know, you can just carefully pick those threads off and keep all that clean. If that gets damaged, you need to get a replacement part. It's just a sticky pad, but it goes on. And it's needed. Don't ask us why, because I'm not that clever. So I'm just going to give this a good clean as well. All right. And you want to make sure that you get no scratches on the bottom, which is why you have to be careful with your pins. Or if you have a broken needle, make sure that you find all of your bits. So you don't want any scratches here. You certainly don't want any scratches in there. And on the brother one, can you see there's a white arrow there? And on the brother machine, if I come back in again, I'm going to come in very slowly. Can you see there is a white dot there? So remembering that hook is at 12 o'clock. Now the beauty about the brother ones is all I have to do is have the hook at 12 o'clock and then match up the arrow with the dot. If you haven't got those dots on, there would be nothing stopping you getting your shuttle in here properly, and then putting a little mark on yourself. As long as you don't, you know, particularly here, as long as you don't cause any damage to that case, or you don't put any grooves in, don't put any notches in, because any notches won't allow it to work. All right, so that just pops in, no problem at all. This bottom part, this end cap part, you just pop back on. If I just come back out a little bit again. And then the next thing that you're going to do is this is the back plate. Now, can you see these lines here and this part here? This part here is where the needle goes, and this is where the feed dogs go. Now, the way to get that on is just to slide it in and to make sure that all of your screw lines are, if I just get that in, can you see that the screw holes underneath in the machine and the actual screw hole on the plate are all married up? You'll then notice that your feed dogs are sort of square. They're sitting in that gap, lovely. and then all you're going to do is pop your screw in. When you're popping your screws back in, put them in by hand and then just finish off and tighten them by with a screwdriver, and just do a quarter turn. To me, they don't have to be what I call man tight. And that other screw would go in the other side. Obviously I haven't screwed them in yet. Make sure I get the right one. Yeah. Now when you're taking your machine apart, please put all of your screws in one place. Now my granddaughter gave me a little Mr. Man cup yesterday that she got from McDonald's, so that's where I've just stuck all mine in. It doesn't matter where it is. An egg cup, a yogurt pot, an ice cube tray, anything like that, just get them put back in there. And then obviously this end cap has got to go on. So also in my sewing tool, sewing kit, I have a screwdriver. If I come out it won't look so big. And I'll just put the end cap back on there. So you're not seeing my face today, which is not a bad thing. I'll do it at the end. So you just have a, if your screwdriver is magnetised, it makes life easier. So that's on. Don't worry about that noise. And then the last thing to pop on is this one here. And this is the one that we take off regularly. And with this machine here, this just all pops in. When this is all tightened, this will all sit flat. You'll put that screw in. Or on some machines, it literally just clicks in. And then you're ready to drop your bobbin in. And you're away and you're lovely and clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and turn this around. I don't know if I can now. I don't know how to turn this thing around. But never mind, it doesn't matter. You've basically been able to clean your machine out with the basics of your tweezers, your brush, a can of air, and you're off sewing again. So I'm now going to be off to do some free motion quilting. So I'll speak to you later, and I hope that is helpful for you. Bye bye.